Oh hey, what are you doing out tonight in this mess for this review? Hey, welcome back to my channel. Hope everyone's doing well out there, and we're going to take a trip to Camp Blood. That's right, we're going back to 1980 for a little Friday the 13th. Now, I have reviewed this before a few years ago, but I'm going to do this a revisited review because I had picked up this bad boy from Scream Factory, this awesome box set, and I'm going to plow my way through this box set, and I'm going to review each film in this franchise, from the first one up to the remake, and I'm going to do that over several months. I'm not going to do it right in a row. I'm going to set this down on the floor here. And the transfers for the first film look fantastic. There's some really cool bonus features on there, and I picked it up. They had it on sale, and I couldn't resist picking this up. And yeah, we're going to talk about the original, the one that started it all. 1980, Friday the 13th. This movie came out May 9th of 1980. It's rated R, like they all are. Hour and 35 minutes long, had a budget of $550,000, and upon release that May, it made $39.7 in America and $59.8 worldwide. So this was a huge hit for Paramount Pictures, who picked it up, because it was an independent picture. Paramount Pictures picked it up for distribution, and they made a ton of money. And that's why they continue to make more sequels over the years. Now, Sean Cunningham directed this film. He came up with the idea for the title, didn't have a script, took a whole full-page ad out in Variety magazine on the 4th of July weekend. New picture coming soon, Friday the 13th. And off of that ad, he was able to raise $550,000 to make this film. He got Victor Miller to write the script, and basically told Victor Miller, write something in the vein of Halloween, because we're going to try to make some money off this little low-budget horror film. Because Halloween was being the big success, people wanted to copy that. That's what Hollywood does. And Sean Cunningham was just coming off of 2 small family films that didn't do very well or any business at all. He had produced Last House on the Left for Wes Craven. They were really good friends around this time. Matter of fact, Wes Craven shot a little second unit on this film. But he had not had such luck with his family films, so he decided a little horror film, like Halloween did, we can make some money, so let's do it. So that's what they did. And they went off to New Jersey to shoot this film, and not too far from where I grew up. And in this film, we have Betsy Palmer as Mrs. Voorhees, Adriana King as Alice, our final girl, and Kevin Bacon as Jack. And Kevin Bacon was just coming off of Animal House in '78, although he's not a star in that film, but he was in that film. It was a huge hit. But he didn't really get started until '84 when he did Footloose, and that was a huge hit for him as well. Now, one of the first people hired on the crew for this film was the great Tom Savini, because they were big fans of what he did on Dawn of the Dead. And after this film, the very next year, he did the special effects for The Prowler and The Burning, and then so on, Creep Show, and then Friday the 13th Part 4, and then many other films. Tom Savini's a master at this, and this is what really kicked his career into high gear, coming off of Dawn of the Dead, and this was a 1-2 punch. And at the beginning of the film, we see these camp counselors. It's 1958, and they're huddled around with an acoustic guitar, and they're singing a song. And this guy and this girl lock eyes, and after the song's over, they get up and take off to have a little teenage fun, if you know what I mean. And through a POV shot, we see this person approaching them, ends up killing the boy, and we see the girl screaming, trying to get away. And then we get that title card that comes pushing right towards the screen, smashes out the glass, Friday the 13th, and we're on with the rest of our story. They set up the little town that this camp's not too far from, and we see some of the counselors. We're introduced to the group of counselors, and Steve Christie, the guy who owns this camp, his family's owned it for a long time, and they've tried to reopen it many times over the years, as we find out through some of the townspeople, unsuccessfully, because bad things continue to happen around the camp, and its nickname in town is Camp Blood. Then we're introduced to our cook, Annie, who gets killed. The first kill in present day, or 1980, with her throat getting slit in the forest, and it looks spectacular because Tom Savini does a great job in this film with the kills. When we do see the makeup effects, it looks great. And then basically it's just a cat and mouse and a whodunit of different counselors get killed in gruesome ways. Kevin Bacon's death is a highlight, and his girlfriend who gets the axe to the head. It looks fantastic. More people die, and then we have, fast forward through some things, because this is a well-known property. If you're a horror fan, I guarantee you've probably seen this more than once. I can't even hazard a guess of how many times I've seen this over the years. Then at the end, we have our final battle with Mrs. Voorhees, who shows up and acts sympathetic at first, but after a few minutes, the seams start to show on her sanity, and she shows how batshit crazy she really is. And her and Alice have a cat and mouse back and forth throughout the camp. And then on the beach, we get that final shot well, our final shot of the confrontation when Alice takes the machete and cuts off Mrs. Voorhees' head as her hands clutch up and her head falls off, and Alice gets in the canoe, goes out in the middle of the lake, and the music comes up, this nice relaxing music. The cops are on shore yelling to her. She wakes up, and young Jason comes out of the lake, grabs her, and pulls her in. And she wakes up in the hospital and finds out that it was all a dream, or she's going crazy, one or the other. And that is Friday the 13th, folks. That is what kicked off a franchise that has spanned multiple decades and through multiple iterations, because we have the Paramount years, the New Line years, and then the remake was a combination of Warner Brothers and Paramount. And we hear about Jason in this film, but we don't see him, obviously. Mrs. Voorhees was the original killer. Scream, baby. And then Jason obviously shows up in part 2, which we'll talk about next week or the week after. This film was trying to copy the success of Halloween. Low budget, young cast, although they upped the gore factor. Obviously, that's why when Carpenter made Halloween 2, when Rick Rosenthal directed, they upped the gore factor. They felt pressured because of the marketplace. The gore content had gone up in these films because of next year to Prowler, which is very gory, and so is The Burning, so on and so forth. So this definitely started the gore factor in the slasher genre, and then the MPAA got involved later on and cut most of these films to pieces, but that's another story for another time. Look, this isn't my favorite Friday the 13th movie. There's some down the line that are my favorite, but there's no doubt of its importance. Obviously, it kicked off the franchise. It was a huge hit when it came out. That's what's got them to make another sequel, and another sequel, another sequel, another sequel, another sequel. There's some nice shots in this film. Now, Halloween's my favorite franchise, but Friday the 13th is a close second or third. It depends. And I love the character of Jason. Obviously, he's not in this original film, but Mrs. Voorhees is a very capable killer and a good killer. But this movie's not perfect. There's issues here. Some of the acting's not the greatest. Some of the story, the whole whodunit aspect, unfortunately, the problem is you never meet Mrs. Voorhees till the last 15 minutes. Then she kind of comes out of nowhere. And then she does have a sympathetic story. Her son drowned in the lake because these counselors weren't paying attention to him. And now she's taking revenge on the camp or anybody that comes into the camp, which Jason continues to do after this. I don't think this is as well shot as Halloween, for sure. The score, although I like what Harry Manfredini does with the score, I don't think it's definitely not as iconic as the Halloween score. But overall, the kills are decent. Sean Cunningham does a decent job with the film. There's some suspenseful scenes. There's some nice foliage shots of the forest and the lake and all that stuff. Again, it's just kicked. I mean, Halloween definitely shown what could be done on a low budget. Now, I know Black Christmas's importance in the slasher genre. I think Black Christmas, although it wasn't as successful as Halloween, that's why it doesn't get talked about enough. But Halloween definitely showed people what could be done on a low budget. And if, Carpenter was a really good director, still a really good director. But it showed people on a low budget what could be done and the success that could be had. So people Xeroxed Carpenter's formula, and it worked. And then after this, like I said, The Prowler, The Burning, Terror Train, Prom Night, My Bloody Valentine, Happy Birthday to Me. We had April Fool's Day later on, When a Stranger Calls. We had so many slasher films in the 80s. Some are good, some are okay, some are not that good. But this helped kick the door in, definitely, and showed studios that if we put a little bit of money over here and let them go off and make this thing, we can make a quick buck off of this. And it definitely served Paramount well for a very long time until it kind of ran out of steam around New Blood and then Jason Takes Manhattan, although that film's not very good. Anyway, now this, again, I said this was filmed in New Jersey. That camp is still there. You could actually spend a night in the camp. I think there's a big waiting list, though, to get there. I'm not exactly sure on that. Again, Tom Savini was one of the first crew hired, and he actually stayed in a cabin on the camp. Most of the cast and crew stayed in the hotel, but Tom Savini and his assistant Tasso actually stayed on property in a cabin for the duration of the shoot. Tom Savini, that shot where Brenda's setting up the bow and arrow range, the archery range, Tom Savini is the one that actually shot the bow that hits the target right next to her, because he was a good marksman with the bow and arrow. So he did that for Sean Cunningham. This was filmed in 28 days. And the working title for this film was A Long Night at Camp Blood, which was a terrible title. Friday the 13th is such a much better title. But overall, still, there's no doubt that this is a very important slasher film, considering what it began in the 80s. It's not my favorite of the series. It's not even my favorite slasher film. Halloween would be my favorite slasher film. But it's still a decent little film. And I would give it a 7 out of 10. Yeah, 7 out of 10 for the original Friday the 13th. What are your thoughts on this movie? Leave a comment down below. Let me know, where does it rank in the franchise for you? Leave that comment down below. Smash that like button, subscribe to my channel, it's free. Join me here, help me get to 400 subscribers. I greatly would appreciate that. Share this video, I'd also greatly appreciate that. Like I said, over the next coming weeks and months, I'm going to go through every film in the Friday the 13th franchise. But Halloween's coming. I know it's only going to be July, but Halloween's not too far. And I'm going to be doing Rob Zombie's Halloween 1 and 2, the 2018 movie, and then Halloween Kills when it gets released in October, which I'm excited for that. But we're going to have a long journey to Halloween and many horror films to cover, so join me here for all that fun. I'm going to do some new intros. I'm going to do a Scream fan film. Hopefully by October I'll have that out, that me and my buddy Dale are working on. So lots of fun stuff coming up. I can't wait to share it with you. But I hope you all have a great holiday weekend. It's going to be 4th of July. This is going to be my only review this week, but I'll be back after the 4th. So have a great time, and I'll just say bye.